I froze. I forgot what we say first. Welcome back to the New England Camp Podcast. I am Bud Copeland, ACA New England's Director of Membership and Engagement. And if you're hearing my voice right now, that means you are engaged enough with us to be listening to this, which means you and I have probably interacted, but we do have a team member from New England, in New England, who's actually in Chicago, and I'll let him explain that here in a second. And he's the magic behind a lot of what you see online and what you've been hearing the last year or so. So we wanted to bring him out at the front a little bit and give him some love. Kyle, why don't you say hello to everybody and tell them who you are, where you are, and what you do?
Right on. Thanks, Bud. Yeah, what's up, everybody? I'm Kyle Winkle. I am the communications manager for ACA New England, and love to meet as many of you as I possibly can. And so it's good to be on this podcast, Bud. Thanks for letting me join.
Well, selfishly, I wanted to do this for a couple of reasons. We had the camp tours again this year, and unfortunately, Kyle being based in Chicago, doing his studies of higher education while he also works for us, I wanted to make sure that we caught up, and I kind of filled you in a little bit on how it went. I know that you're curious, and like you said the other day, like what does it take to put these on? Because you're not necessarily here listening to everything we do all the time, but so you were the one though receiving all the questions and the requests. Hey, what do I bring? Where do we go? What do we do this? Helping filter those through, the ones that don't go directly to Amelia and Carrie, the other team members who actually put these things on. Snaps to them. The Vermont camp tours just wrapped up and they were a huge success. But we wanted to take that as an opportunity to maybe explain a little bit about what goes on to put these camp tours on and why people like them. So you have the list in front of you. You said there's roughly 6, 7, 8 questions somewhere in there. Right. This should be a quick, easy listen. And if you stick around, we actually have some input from our host and some attendees. But to start it off, I feel like we're doing a Letterman top 10 countdown. That's going to be a dated reference for some people. But to start off, what were some of these questions? What are the questions that people were asking that will help them understand why people even go on these camp tours, or what it takes to put them on to or attend them? What are we starting with?
Yeah, that's a great point. I appreciate the space to kind of
I like that you just said my ramblings were a great point. If y'all don't know Kyle, get to know Kyle. He's one of the nicest humans ever. I was rambling trying to figure out how to pass this baton. So yeah, let's pass it back over to you. What were you about to say before I railroaded you again?
No, I think it's good for people who are kind of skeptical of what these things even are, what this camp tour really mean, to have the space to kind of air out these questions. So I think a lot of them are really fundamental and like trying to understand the vibe of the event itself. So starting off with one of the fundamental questions is, what should participants bring if they're going to come to a camp tour?
That's I'm going to steal your line. That's a wonderful question. First things first, if you're going to come on a camp tour, you got to bring an open mind. You have to actually, you're understanding you're coming out here not to judge. You can make observations and take notes, but honestly, people come on them and, to meet new people and try new things and get ideas. So you got to bring an open mind. Bring a water bottle. You're going to be on your feet most of the day, walking around. A lot of times you can expect the camp tours that we host will have lunch provided, maybe some light breakfast stuff, but make sure you bring your water bottle to stay hydrated. Rule number 1, Jack. Bring some bug spray, because although, these fall camp tours that we host are in the fall, it is still summer-ish out there. So bring your bug spray, bring a rain jacket. It's New England. If there's a joke, I'm what I call born again New England. I'm not even from these parts. They've somewhat adopted me. I'm in with the Mainers, and so I'm working on the rest of the region. But you got to bring a rain jacket, because if you don't like the weather, just wait 5 minutes. It's going to change. That's what they say. So rain jacket, water bottle, bug spray, good attitude, open mind, basically all the things that you would bring heading into any camp experience. And this is no different.
Okay, that's good to know. And, I think if I'm imagining what a camp tour looks like, we like to celebrate the diversity and the uniqueness of every camp. Every camp is different, and we love to celebrate that as a community. And so I imagine one of the best parts of camp tours is to see what are those unique features that each camp has. So from your experience going on some of these camp tours, what are examples of some of these unique features that people might get to see during their tour?
It's wonderful, because in seeing differences, people notice how much they have in common from camp to camp and operation to operation. Obviously, certain overnight settings have things that are specific to it, and day camps have things that are specific to it. But a lot of times on these, you'll find the unique things are mostly around, the brand of the camp or their identity. It's not stuff that you would take. You're like, oh man, look at that. They use this for their symbol. We use something different. But the unique stuff that I see people notice are more operational, like how did you know to put that water heater there? What made you switch your fireplace purpose for this? When did you build this building? How long did it take? What kind of equipment do you use on that field over there? So, trying to find out the nitty gritty and the nuts and bolts versus necessarily the flashy identity type stuff, because everybody has their own brand to work on, and your brand works for your camp and your community. But the real magic happens when people start asking questions around things that they see that are unique to a camp, but maybe not their camp. And it usually is something structural or maintenance related or business related. How do you handle parent complaints in this kind of environment when they notice this? So I think the unique things, it's kind of it's a double-edged sword, because in camping you're not going to find a community that's more open about their operations, especially even with quote unquote competitors. But at the same time, they're willing to share enough that they're proud of and that they're not afraid to get out there. But you got to keep some secrets to yourself. But I'd say by and large, 99%, there is nothing that's super duper unique to a camp operation. It's mostly about their identity or their brand. I don't want people to be like, we're special, we're unique. Everybody is, but there are certain things, like if that septic tank system worked for us, it might work for you. Or what did you do to get all your fire, smoke detectors in line, updated, and cycled properly? So it's the little things and the nuts and bolts that usually jump out.
I can really appreciate how camp tours are built to not promote, oh, bring in all these campers, right? These are how-tos that can apply to different camps across New England and across the camping industry that people can use. So that's a beautiful thing. I can really appreciate that. So speaking of the structure, I think that is a good segue to the next question that I think a lot of people wonder. Is this typically a completely guided event with like an agenda, a calendar of events, so to speak, or is there a lot of free time to kind of mingle and explore?
If you've ever been on one of our events, it's a little bit of both. There's intentionality in everything that we do, especially another quick shout out to our PD director, Carrie. She's incredibly intentional with her programming and what she lays out, but she's also intentional in identifying space for what you just said, kind of mingling, relaxing. If on a 2-day tour, one of the lunches one day might be kind of a working lunch where we're going to, you're going to listen to these things about the dining hall and how they do things while we're in there because we're on a tight time crunch. But that night we might have an optional like happy hour or post tour coffee gathering where it's like, if you're feeling you want those batteries are still charged, come on out, mix it up. But if you need to go get some rest because we got another day of tours tomorrow, understandable. So there's definitely a program and an agenda. It's not just come on over, check out the property. What we encourage attendees to do, and the camp directors always are open about this, and it's kind of like me when I get going, stop me. Like, you're going to have to ask a question. Otherwise, I'm just going to roll right on to the next. We're going to keep going. I've seen this property. I've given this tour a million times. They know everything. It's all familiar to them. So it is kind of on the attendee a little bit to take that like raising the hand or even following up later. Not everybody's a yell it out loud and say, how much did you pay for that building over there? But knowing that these hosts are almost always going to be open with, they offered to host for a reason. And a little bit later, we'll hear from some of them on why they chose to host. But it's usually structured. There usually is parameters and an agenda. But usually that agenda will also include some of the socializing time, because when we have 50 attendees going around to 5 camps over 2 days, you can get lost into just shuffling people around from A to B. So you try to slow it down and you try to create that free space within the structure.
It's great that people have the chance to have that time to ask their questions, even though they might know a lot of the how-to and kind of the camp setup, but they still have the opportunity to look kind of behind the scenes in a lot of these camp operations, which I could only imagine is really refreshing. What are some other benefits that maybe a camp director might get for going on one of these camp tours?
The directors, when they show up, it's, it depends. It's unique to each person. Like I said, whatever you want to get out of it, you probably can get out of it. I doubt people are going to open up and share trade secrets. But the thought being, if it's something you'd be willing to share, odds are whoever's hosting would be willing to share. or another attendee. It's kind of like the classroom mentality. If you are a student in a classroom and you have the question and there's 25 other students in the classroom, first of all, what is your state doing with those ratios? So that's neither here nor there. But odds are there's going to be another student with that same question. So the teacher's going to answer it. What can you expect to get out of these camp tours? I actually did sit down and I talked to a handful of them throughout the different places we were, and I asked them, who are you? Where'd you come from? And why do you come to these kind of things? So if you want to take a pause for just a minute, we can kick it on over to that audio. We'll hear from some of the attendees, and we'll be back in just a minute.
Sounds great.
My name's Jason Brown. I'm the Camp Experience Manager for Ebner Camps. I make sure everybody at all 4 of our locations drinks the same flavor Kool-Aid. And why go on camp tours? This is where the learning happens.
My name is Herschel Singer. I work for JCamp 180, which is a program of the Harold Grinspoon Foundation. We do organizational development, consulting, and grant making with Jewish day and overnight camps across North America. And I came on the tour in order to get to see some camps that are outside of our network and get to see what camp professionals are thinking about towards the end of this summer.
So my name is Nicole Soley. I'm with Camp Robindale for Girls in New Hampshire. And my role there is events management and some staff development, working with staff, training them in, and pre- and post-camp operations, at least as far as I know. And, why am I here? I'm here to see new things and get new ideas.
So my name is Elliot Golding. I'm the assistant director at Camp Keewaydin in Alton Bay, New Hampshire. And Keewaydin actually hosted this group last year as part of the 2022 tour, and it was a really awesome chance just to get to show off our property to a whole bunch of other camp people. And I love, as somebody who's grown up at Keewaydin but doesn't have camp experience anywhere else, I love getting to see other camps, see how they do things, get to meet other people. So this seemed like a great chance to come to Vermont and get to see a lot of other stuff in one visit. So.
All right, my name's Robin Bovair. I'm the camp director at Circle Program. Well, actually, I'm the camp and programs director. And we came to kind of learn a little bit more about what we can offer from our camp and get takeaways, and then how we can implement what these nonprofits are doing to our nonprofit and see how we can grow on a smaller budget but towards this scale.
Right, my name's Ryan Piazza. I'm from the Mayflower BSA Council down in Massachusetts. We have 3 properties. One, Camp Resolute up in Bolton. It's Camp Squanto down in Plymouth, Mass. And then we have Knobscott Reservation. This is my first year here. And it's really nice to, be able to collaborate with, everyone in the industry. It's important nowadays, to get the kids out into the woods, camping environment, teach those life skills. And, I'm really happy to be here. Some of these places are immaculate, man. Definitely pushes the envelope, and, it's about getting that more exposure to bring them out to the woods.
And once again, thank you so much to everybody who attended, and especially to those participants who decided to open up and share their thoughts and bare their soul for the betterment of the New England Camp Podcast. What's next on the rundown, Kyle?
Yeah, this is out of personal interest, but I think a lot of people would be curious to know, what is the wildest thing that you've seen on a camp tour?
Ironically enough, it happened a couple of days ago, and it's not wild in the sense of woke up at 2 a.m. and there was a squirrel eating a Jolly Rancher on my chest. True story. Good friend of mine. It was his first year at camp. He woke up in the middle of the night and the squirrel was eating a Jolly Rancher, or it might have been a Tootsie Roll. I can't remember which. But we had a car get stuck in the mud, and at our first location, it was exceptionally rainy in Vermont, as everybody knows, and we were in Vermont for the camp tours. And this poor sedan got stuck, but I'll tell you what, true to form, the camp people got out, pushed him out of the mud. We didn't miss a beat, made it to the next camp in time. But it just goes to show that you got to bring that, like I said earlier, that open mind and that good attitude, because you never know when you're going to be down in the mud and the muck.
That does sound essential. So all that to say, what was your favorite part of camp tours in Vermont?
Honestly, these are the third or fourth tours. I can't remember. They start running together at my age.
Right.
No, these are the third tours that I've been on. And at this point, especially we were at some camps that I had the privilege of being on and seeing the properties before. So I tried to take some time with our hosts and ask them, what do you get out of hosting these camp tours? Why do you open up your camps to other professionals looking for inspiration or insight or guidance or whatever it might be? And this is what they had to say.
My name's Abby Loveshin-Smith. I'm the director of Brown Ledge Camp. We decided to host this year because I personally find so much value in seeing other camps campuses, facilities, buildings, and generally just connecting with other camp professionals. I find it to be so helpful. So why not open us up so people can see our space and ask us all the questions? But that's why we offered to host.
Okay. Yeah. Hi, Marnie McDonough from Camp Kiniya. I am the director here. I have been the director for now 30 summers. This is my 30th year just passed, and I'm very excited to be welcoming everyone from ACA and our neighbouring and peer camps, just to be able to share what it is that we do here and the beauty of this special place, and to be able to hear a little bit of the shared practices and all the joys that camp brings, as well as some of the shared challenges too. So looking forward to spending the day with our peers.
Hi there, my name is Chelsea Rundlin. I'm the executive director here at YWCA Vermont Camp Hochelaga, and we were really honored to be asked to host this group because we care so much about the American Camp Association and ACA New England that we love being a part of. And for us, it's a real treat to get so many experts on our camp so we can see our camp through their eyes, get their information, their expertise, their input on our facilities and our programs. So really, it's a selfish move for us because we get to learn so much from everybody else being here, and we just love sharing our space, and we're really proud of our camp. So that's why we're a part of it.
My name is Peter Hare. I'm the executive director of the Keewaydin Foundation, and I'm also the director of Keewaydin Dunmore Boys Camp. We are standing on the beautiful Keewaydin Dunmore campus on Lake Dunmore in Salisbury, Vermont. We're hosting a tour here for a number of camp directors who belong to the ACA, American Camp Association. And when Carrie asked me if we'd be willing to do this back in the spring, I thought, of course, what the heck? Our camp motto is help the other fellow. So let's help out our fellow camp directors.
Super. I'm Frances McLaughlin. I'm the executive director at Farm and Wilderness. I use she, her pronouns. And we are here at our Tamarack Farm Camp main lodge looking out over apple trees and some of our crop fields and our dairy barn beyond that. We agreed to host because we were really excited for more folks to see what we're doing and to be part of, to actually go on tours to other camps. I started 3 years ago, so the last tour that ACA had done happened before I started, and I had heard really good things about it, and my colleagues and I were just jazzed to be part of it. I think camping is about community, and ACA New England and ACA more generally is one of our communities.
And so thanks again to all those hosts who opened up their camps and shared everything that they were willing to share. And that was a lot, Kyle. I got to tell you, it was 2 days incredibly packed full of information, conversation, and fun.
Well, I appreciate you kind of filling me in, even all the way over here from Chicago. I feel the excitement around camp tours. I think that it's such a wonderful event that we put on, and yeah, really grateful for the people that host these events. So I now that I have this information, I'm just kind of curious, going forward, what can we expect from camp tours as we know it?
Well, you can expect camp tours to be back. I hope Carrie doesn't mind me saying that. I anticipate another season of camp tours, but we actually have added to the program. Depending on when you're listening to this, you may have been at our day camp tours. For the first time ever, we hosted day camp tours here in New England. Great showing who have signed up for it so far. So when you're listening to this, if I saw you there, great to see you. Otherwise, if you're sitting there thinking, you know what, we wouldn't mind hosting, or we'd love to host people at our camp, we want to show some stuff off, reach out to Carrie at acanewengland.org. For everything else, you can start with Kyle, Bud, Carrie, Amelia, Michelle, whatever you need, Elizabeth, at acanewengland.org, and we're here for you. Kyle, have a phenomenal day.
You do the same, Bud. Thanks again.
Appreciate it. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe to the show. Help us grow the New England Summer Camp podcast by giving us a 5-star review and sharing with a friend. Have a comment, question, or request for the New England Summer Camp podcast? Email camp@acanewengland.org. We can be found on Apple, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your shows.